Somebody big just died. He was an author, a lawyer, a politician, and gave birth to trash TV. Jerry Springer is dead at the age of 79. And here to memorialize him is Mike North. How are you, my friend?
How do you think I am? How do you think I am? I'm beautiful. We're getting paid again. This is beautiful. Now, as you know, Aldo, ladies and gentlemen, say hello to Aldo Gandia, the mortician of broadcasting. And I'm like Johnny Fontaine. I just stop in and moan. Anyway, this is beautiful because we glorify people that we admired. I've had suggestions for other people. Okay, can you do this person? No. Why? Why are you doing this person? Do I have to explain it to you? It's got to do with sometimes the individual and sometimes the brand. For instance, we will be doing another podcast on the great Beth Murphy. She was more than a bar owner. So we dig into this stuff. We're not the national broadcast or ESPN that says she owned Murphy's Bleachers. No, she was an activist. She built up that neighborhood. She fought cult hierarchy. So that's a promo of our next one. But this guy here, Jerry Springer, who I had the pleasure of knowing, and this is what's great about this, because I didn't even read that much about him, once again, in the mainstream press. I'm sure Aldo had that puzzled look on his face being an ex-TV guy, saying, I think I would have done more, except rock the boat, don't tip the boat over, was not his song, for instance. It was, you can rock the boat, but if you rock the boat, you'll tip the boat over. Well, that's called making money for any place you work. Jerry Springer was born in London, England. Jerry Springer died in Evanston, Illinois. And between all that, he fit in what entrepreneurs usually fit in. 6 or 7 different things in a lifetime. Not, that one lucky bounce. And I got full-time employment forever because I just never rocked the boat. I tipped it over if I didn't like the certain situations. I admire Jerry. And Jerry went to Tulane University and Northwestern University, Aldo. So he was just a genuine guy. And what was cool is I was in Gibson Steakhouse. And being at Gibson Steakhouse back in the 90s was being at Chasen's in Beverly Hills. That's what it was. Being at the Waldorf Astoria. Being at it was the place to be on Rush Street. And so was Rush Street. From Jelly's to Hugo's. I was at that new casino the other day. And I sat down at this restaurant, Hugo's. And the guy goes, have you ever been at Hugo's before? And the person with me said, well, he helped open Hugo's on Rush Street. So back before they have Hugo's at this place. Mm-hmm. So we had a good banter, talked about it. And I'll just give you a Jerry Springer type of impact on people. The pre-draft camp was in town. Jerry West walks in, Chuck Daly, Shaq. I'm in there. Jason Patrick, the actor, was over on one end of the room. Everybody went there. Then Jordan came in, got it cordoned off on Bellevue and Rush, that window there in the corner. And everybody got a cheer, except me. They wanted to toss me the keys, but I was already the staple there. I didn't want to steal anybody's thunder. And I couldn't because these guys were major. Jerry Springer walked into the place, and the women in the place knew who he was. The women in the place knew who Jordan was, but hardly anybody else. When Jerry Springer walked in, both the men and the women, yeah, what's up, Jerry? And Jerry was very gracious, very kind, and a low-key guy when he was out, Aldo. And I know these because I was at NBC Tower with Jerry. And when his show was there, I went in the back. I got to know one of my good friends, Steve Wilkos, who went on to other shows. They asked me if I wanted to work security. I said, I'd be the first guy that would try to stop somebody and they pull a weapon out on me and shoot me. But they just wanted to get me on the set. I never did that. But Jerry would come out. And I got to say this, Aldo, because you know TV. He enjoyed the fame. but he didn't enjoy the craft that he was doing at that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
He thought it was stupid.
he did indeed, but it made him a fortune.
Yeah.
When he first started the Jerry Springer show, it was actually kind of a political talk show. He had on as guest Reverend Jesse Jackson and other notable people. The ratings weren't poor, and then he hired Richard Dominic to produce the show, and Dominic took it in a whole new direction. It became a very trashy show that was
Oh,
highlighted with fighting, and guests were like trans people who were being ridiculed, and the
yeah.
audience would yell at the guests and so forth. And there was a big controversy at the time. And here in Chicago, locally, WMAQ TV wanted to hire him to be on their newscast because he was pulling such great ratings. And the anchors at the time, Ron Majors and Carol Marin, objected and said that they would quit if Jerry Springer was allowed on the show. And NBC, the WMAQ TV, finally relented. Do you recall that episode, Mike?
Not only do I recall it, but first of all, Ron Majors and Carol Marin, I also saw them frequently because I did some work for NBC 5 in the morning. And I also worked on the same building. I basically love Carol Marin. I told her that on Channel 11. They never asked me to come back. I did like a Joe Namath. And I got nothing but the respect for Carol. And Carol liked me too. We had a good rapport, and Ron's a good guy. But when they questioned, why is Jerry Springer on our station? Because we have integrity. That's not the whole ball of wax. You're not the higher than high newscast. You're in Chicago to bring everybody in. And Jerry Springer would have brought a huge segment into the situation. And if they gave me a hard time, I would have fired them both.
Mm-hmm.
I would have said that I'll hire 2 more anchors as good as you are. Okay? Because at the end of the day, what really ticked me off about what Carol, God bless you, crew, you're the best. And Ron, we looked at the same condo on Lakeshore Drive. I remember I ran right into you before I decided to move to Park Range. We're buddies. But the night that the Bulls were playing at home, and you had been talking about journalistic integrity, and Jerry Springer was like somebody else I know that was out of the box, different, and wasn't accepted by mainstream media. Yet there you were, you journalistic pillars of power, with bull's horns on your head to start the news. Now you tell me how integral as a journalist that makes you, with the bull's horns on your head going, so-and-so was in an accident on so-and-so. Take the horns off. Don't even start with that if you're going to posture yourself as what most of the media is now, even back then. Period. Mm-hmm. It was a we're better than Jerry thing. And I think at the end, guys like Frank Whitaker, I think his name was, I mean, they had good structure over there. But you're trying to catch Channel 7.
Right.
And they got away. They got away. But no, advertisers are mad. I know this. Being different, being the squeaky wheel that gets the grease, advertisers aren't mad. Okay? If the couple of your advertisers that are embedded with you are mad, that's different. But that's not the point. The point is get the new advertisers in and get the new people in. So I think Jerry got screwed in that deal. He didn't need it. He decided he wanted to go mainstream because he's a politician before he was anything, folks. People go, Mike, how much reading did you do? I just looked at the dates. Eldo knows I don't need nothing on Jerry. And Jerry did not like the trashy part of TV. That's why Jerry started with Justin Jackson, my guy. That's why. Because he wanted something credible, but not in this town anymore at that time. And he couldn't argue with the results. It's like when Colonel Parker told Elvis, they want to hear you singing on every movie. And Elvis goes, wait a minute, Colonel. Come on. I think I could do a movie and hold it on my own. So he does I think Flaming Star or one of those movies, right?
Yes.
And he doesn't sing, and it doesn't do well.
All right.
That's it. See, to me, give me a better script. Okay, he didn't need to sing in King Creole. He didn't need to sing in some of those vehicles. Okay, but if you're going to compare 32 musicals that never lost money with Elvis Presley not singing, of course there's going to be some people that don't want to see him without singing a song. But I mean, I see other people that are singers. Lady Gaga was just in Versace. No, not Versace. What's the Italian outfit?
Gucci.
She didn't sing. Now, she's not Elvis. She's this generation's Madonna. But she didn't sing. Okay? So Elvis just went along with everything. I think it hurt Springer. I think I'm making money, but I'm selling out. I always thought he had that idea of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he, prior to him becoming famous in television, he was a councilman in Cincinnati. He did have to resign. He before he was married, though, as councilman, he did have to resign because he admitted to soliciting a prostitute. But he was so popular in Cincinnati that he ran for re-election and won twice. And then, as you said, Mike, he became mayor of Cincinnati. So he had a really promising political career. But he wanted to get into the broadcasting business, saw opportunities there. He made it and made it big. Although, as you said, he was never really happy with it. And he did make a movie loosely based on his life and wrote a book. And he famously joked, because the book and the movie were titled the same, he said, I can only come up with 2 titles once a year. So he had a great sense of humor. And all of his shows ended with the Jerry Springer Show ended with him offering some words of wisdom, and it almost sort of made up for all the trash that happened in the 58 minutes prior. He was a very eloquent speaker and a very smart man.
What was the first thing you thought about when you think of Jerry Springer? You think of the unfortunate situations that he was in that he put himself in, and we've all done that. I mean, as far as certain situations, they're called victimless crimes, but there's never a victimless crime because other people get hurt. He was married for 20 years. He got divorced in 1994 after a 20-year marriage. He had a daughter, Katie, born in 1976 without nasal passages. Okay.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she required immediate surgery after birth. He's donated to many charities, including that type of charity. He died of pancreatic cancer a few months after being diagnosed. Only 5% live from that disease. And when you have something and you lose someone, you want someone you can depend on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Cumberland Chapels. I've had family members laid out there. Aldo has had family members laid out there. They don't need any advertisement at all, but they know that if they do a unique type of situation that will help, you accept that death comes to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to Jerry Springer when he was in not bad health, I guess, before that.
Yeah.
So Cumberland Chapels will talk to you. Their reputation's second to none. I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about them. Boy, we didn't have to. The one thing that Cumberland Chapels keeps doing is buying more parking because they don't leave anybody waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And they know through years, you got to have more now. It's not the mom and pop operations that we all grew up loving. Bar Funeral Home. I always say this about morticians. They live longer than anybody. Yeah, my dad knew you back when he was 60. How old are you, 120? Yeah. Hey, the bar Funeral Home. I mean, they all live longer than anybody.
That's right.
Mr. Bar. He's 116, and he's we have 3 chapels now. But the Cumberland Chapels is what we do. I wanted to do this. I didn't think it was appropriate not to have a funeral parlor. We used to have funeral homes sponsor softball teams, little league teams.
Mm-hmm.
Why not the thing that we all eventually think about? I was saying the other day, how does this guy only get 15 years
Mm-hmm.
in the Who's Got?
Yeah.
And I'm 70. How many years do I got? I'm worried about him.
Mm-hmm.
And where do I want to be? at my rusty final place where everything's going to be fine for my family down the line, Cumberland Chapels. And then after Cumberland Chapels, you might see an Aldo Gandia, a Mike North. You might see a Tino Antonacci, or the head boy, the head proprietor, the head man, Tony Antonacci. I put out the menu the other day. I put out what that place looks like, along with Cumberland Chapels. Pennyville Station, 112 Main Street, Park Ridge. The food, I actually heard a word called scrumptious and inserted it in a tweet the other day at North. I liked it so much the first time, I did it the second time. So they're a team, but you don't need any. You won't be dying when you go over to Pettico. You'll be dying to get in. Make sure you make your reservations. Thank you to both our sponsors. And Aldo, some final parting words on Jerry Springer.
Well, he was truly a television icon. Whether you liked his show or not, he truly made history with what he did on television. And I will never forget his final words on every broadcast: take care of yourself and each other. And those were heartwarming words that we will share with our audience.
Yeah, and from me, before Aldo says goodbye, I knew Jerry, was in his company 5-6 times, ran into him at Gibson Steakhouse when he was with other people most of the time. A true giant, regardless. But the mainstream media didn't like him. And he made more money for whoever he worked for. I mean, he was one of those guys. He was like Hyman Roth. Jerry Springer made money. Jerry Springer made money for all his partners. So that's as far as I look at it now.
Indeed. And I will let people know that we've done a series of these programs, and you can find them all on the Barroom Network's YouTube channel. There's a playlist there called Somebody Big Just Died, and you can find all of those videos there. And for Mike North, my name is Aldo Gandia. We'll see you next time.